time to waste. So, you are welcome. Our topic today is Introduction to History of Education in Nigeria. What is history? What is education? History, can somebody describe history for me? What is history? Hello? Somebody should define history. Tell us what is history. Anybody there? Please unmute yourself and talk to me. Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, yes. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can you define history? Others should unmute themselves too. Define history. Others should unmute themselves. If your background is noisy, don't unmute. So what is history? Nobody is talking. History is
good
the past.
Ma.
Yes, good evening. You want to try?
Yes, ma.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so history is an account of what actually happened in the past.
Good.
It's an account of what happened in the past, which has a link to what is happening at present. And also it can help us in planning or projecting the future.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
You have just nailed it in the wall.
Thank you, ma'am.
So who again wants to try? You've nailed it on the wall. Who wants to try again? Any other person? Any other person? Okay. As she had rightly said, history is the account of the past that is linked to the present in order to determine the future. It is the historical record that are presented in sequential, coherent, consistent, and systematic order. History is unbiased. It is also free of prejudice, because once it is biased, it cannot be accepted again. So there should not be any prejudice. We have two sources of history. We have the primary and the secondary sources. We have the primary and the secondary sources. What are the primary sources? Can somebody tell us the primary sources? What are the primary sources? Can somebody tell us? Yes, who wants to try?
Okay. The primary sources, which could be also oral or written, archaeology findings.
Yes.
Archaeology findings. We also have the biography.
Yes.
No. Oh,
No.
okay, yes, biography. No, I think biography is part of secondary sources.
There is one thing that is the very first thing in primary source.
Yes, ma'am.
What's that thing?
Okay.
It's about
eyewitness source.
Eyewitness. That's number one.
Okay.
Eyewitness accounts. Yes, tell us again. What again? Apart from those ones she has mentioned, somebody else should tell us. Okay, what about the secondary sources? Hello? What about the secondary sources? Yes, who is going to tell us that? Hello, are we together? Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, now.
Yes, ma'am, we are together.
She mentioned that the part of the primary sources are archaeology findings. They are eyewitness. Another person mentioned eyewitness accounts. So videos, internet, they are part of the primary sources. Then what are the secondary sources?
Literature review, ma'am.
Yes, literature, books written by other people who are not eyewitnesses. So,
Newspapers.
newspapers, they are all written by other people who are not eyewitnesses. Okay, so we have talked about history. Now let's talk about education. What is education? What does it involve? Yes, somebody
It
should say something.
involves the transfer of knowledge
Transfer of
to
knowledge.
knowledge. Yes.
Education is taken from Latin word educare, which means to build, to lead, to develop. So education is building a person. It is a process of giving and receiving systematic instruction, especially at school. According to John Dewey, it is all one with growing without an end. It is an activity that has no end. And Wikipedia described it as the process of facilitation of learning or acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, beliefs, and habits. In the words of Aristotle, it says it is the process of training men to fulfill their aims in life by exercising all the faculties to the fullest extent. So, education is impacting knowledge. Is anybody ready to add anything to it? Hello? Yeah, we are many. Let people talk. Abejide, Adenike, Aderoju, Agbere, Akinwumi, Babatunde, Ede, Faith Adebo, Abiba Haliruwala. Oh yeah, we are many.
Okay, I can also say that education is the process of initiating the child into cherished norms and skills.
Yeah, correct. So, What are the forms of education we have? Forms of education.
Formal education, informal education, and non-formal education.
Can you describe formal education?
Formal education is a type of education that is received in a school environment, like the secondary schools, the primary schools, and the tertiary institutions.
You are correct. It is the education that takes place within the four walls of the classroom. It is organized, planned. It involves assessment. So what of the informal education? Somebody else should talk to us. What is informal education?
Informal education is the kind of education we get at home or in the society.
Yes, you are right. Informal education is a kind of education you receive anytime, anywhere. It is not planned, it is not organized, there is no particular teacher, unlike the formal education. What of the non-formal education? What is non-formal education?
Non-formal education is like is less structured than formal education, like adult education, and the kind of education that people get when they go for maybe lessons or extra oral classes, or people who missed normal time of attending lectures. Maybe they didn't have opportunity to go to school at the normal time. So that's the education that they go for at later time. It's called non-formal. The curriculum is not as strict as the one for formal education, but it also has some kind of decorum.
You are very correct. And all this skill acquisition learning also fall under the non-formal education. Any skill you acquire is under non-formal education. So we go to the next slide, history of education. It's the study of education in the past with a view of improving the present and planning the future. That's history of education. That's its essence. Studying the past to improve the present and to plan the future. So, Nigerian traditional education. Was there education in the traditional society before the coming of the Europeans to Nigeria? That's a big question. Was there education?
Yes,
So-
but it was the non-formal education.
Informal.
Is it totally non-formal?
It should be informal.
It is informal.
It was partly non-formal, partly informal. So it was not documented, it was not planned, no scheduled time, no particular teacher, and all that. Mostly the learning was by rote. You memorize incantation, you memorize poems like praises, you memorize all of them, you know. So nothing was exactly written down, no records, no documentation. So if you believe there was education, our education was in what area? Was in which area?
Non-formal.
Not as regards formal or non-formal. Is it in the area of economy? Was it in the area of religion? Was it in the area of sports? In which area?
It was in the area of culture.
We have it in all areas. Traditional African education or Nigerian traditional education was in all areas. We have it in the area of judiciary. We have it in the area of sports. We have it in economy. We have it in what again? Every area. In the area of sport, we have wrestling. People used to compete. We have this game that we play. In Yoruba land, they call it Ayo. Ayo, I don't know what Igbo, they call it in Igbo land, Ayo. So we have those sports. Even as at that time, we had swimming. Then we have economy, where people learn trade, their family trade. Maybe it is tie and dye, it is weaving. They learn to earn a living. At that time, they learn to earn a living. So many things. And we have a judiciary, where obas and chiefs were the ones who sat on the judgment throne. They took decision, they listened to cases, and they, judge cases. We even have our communication system. Do you believe that? Where the town crier goes round and use bell to gather people to pass information. We also have something we call aroko. A message is sent with symbols. Somebody can send orange seeds to you. It has meaning. Somebody can send the seed of alligator pepper. It has meaning. The king can send his rod. That one they used to hold. You can send it to a family. It meant something. So we had our communication system. We had so many things in place, even before the coming of the European. So the characteristics of Nigerian traditional education. It was a collective activity. No particular teacher. Everybody was a teacher. It was multidimensional in terms of goals and means. It was informal. It relied on oral instruction. Do you know any other characteristics of the traditional education in Nigeria?
It is specialized in training. Its training is a specialized type.
Training, okay. In the area of training. Then, what was the content of the traditional African Nigerian traditional education? It built character. It was in the area of skill acquisition and intellectual training. They teach people how to build character, how to comport themselves in the society. They teach skills like farming, like fishing, like weaving, goldsmithing, and some other things. So they also teach people intellectually, like how to memorize poems and some other things. So what was the method of teaching then? They taught by indoctrination, they taught by modeling, they taught by initiation, They taught with reward and punishment, imitation, role play, excuse me, oral literature, and traditional apprenticeship. Those were the means or the methods of teaching in those days, depending on what you want to learn. If it is occultic acts, they teach through initiation. If it was home training, or character training, they teach with reward and punishment. And for some family trades or family acts, like the royal houses, they teach oral literature. Somebody who is being trained to become a king must know all the praises, must know history, must know everything that has to do with the cultural the cultural knowledge of the cultural things about the community. So the traditional apprenticeship had to do with skills. So when a child wants to learn a trade, a skill, the child will be kept with somebody that specializes in that area. So what are the stages of educational development in Nigeria traditional education? Can somebody explain some of these things to us? Yes, somebody mentioned the fact corpus. Yes, it's part of what was taught in those days. Spirituality was part of the education. So can somebody explain these stages to us? What was taught in any of these stages? Yes.
Okay, I'd like to explain the stage of infancy.
Okay.
So the stage of infancy covers the first 5 years of a child. The mother and the father, as well as the immediate members of the family, are the first group of the teachers at that level. So the teachers of this infant are the parents, that is the mother and the father. Along the line, the peer group influence follows, that is the children whom this child plays with, the friends. They also educate this child along the line. So the education at this stage centers on the personal needs of the child, such as food, body care, evacuation, sleep. So it is usually done by petting, rocking, and singing for the child, for the infant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let somebody explain the next stage. Childhood. Hello, somebody should explain the next stage. Childhood, 6 to 12 years.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon.
This childhood age is between 6 to 12 years. At this stage, the child tends to move out of the family, that is the infancy, try to discover things around him, start schools, learn other things from the schools, and it learns through play, through participation and observation, what others do. So at this stage, the child is eager to learn more. Is eager to master other things apart from what he has learned from the mother at first stage.
Thank you. At that stage, also, a child learns to do things by himself or herself. They learn to make, children learn to make friends at that stage, and they want to begin to do what adolescents are doing at that stage in terms of home care and body care. They want to start doing some of those things. And also, it is at that stage that you start teaching a child domestic chores. So, can you still listen to me? Are you still listening to me? Are you there? Can you hear me?
Can hear you, ma.
So at that
Yes, ma, we
stage,
can hear you. Go ahead.
okay, I don't know why Zoom was telling me that this meeting will end in 10 minutes. I don't know why. So in case it ends, I'll see if I can start it again and you come in again. I don't know. So the adolescent stage, let somebody explain the adolescent stage to us. 12 to 19 years. Hello, let somebody explain the adolescent stage to us. 12
It's
to
the stage where the child learns to do adult things through playing, through folklore tales, and they learn how what is expected of them in the society when they become man or woman, depending on the sex or the gender.
Okay. Any other person? Any other person?
I think at this stage, this is the age of sexual characteristics. The girl tends to play the role of the mother. They're independent. They are confused at this stage. They just want to behave like adults. And they don't tend to accept correction at this stage. And they made a lot of mistakes.
You are very correct. It's a stage where when the exuberance come in, it's a stage where they want to believe they are somebody, they have matured enough. And also at this stage, they enter a life career. At this stage, they enter a life career. They start to learn what they will do in future at this stage. So it's a stage, like you said, of confusion. And as confused as they may be, they are not always ready to take to correction. It's a trouble stage, I would say. It's a trouble stage for the child. So it will take a lot of effort and prayer for the parents to guide and guide them correctly to what they should be. So then adulthood, that's the final stage. Let somebody quickly explain adulthood to us. Quickly.